one thing you can do is work, and this is for anybody with any kind of a dream that leaves them feeling upset. In your waking state, imagine that you're back in the dream and you can finish the dream kind of in a quasi-meditation about the dream. Imagine that you have directorial input and you can change what happens, and envision yourself not just ending the dream on a cliffhanger, but picking it up where it left off. And now you direct the dream in the way that would give you power.
It takes energy. It takes courage. It takes commitment. A hunger to live life at another level. A life of true fulfillment. Welcome to the Extraordinary Living Podcast, where Jackie Senatori interviews leading experts from around the world, extracting their wisdom, giving you the tools, tips, and tricks on how to go from ordinary to extraordinary. Get ready to start living a healthier and more empowered life. Here she is, your host, Jackie Senatori.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Extraordinary Living Podcast. Today we have such a fun guest and it's going to be so exciting. We're going to be talking about dreams. I've always been so fascinated in dreams and also finding little ways that I can get in tune with different messages through myself and not so much other people. So when I came across Kelly Sullivan Walden, who is a dream expert, I had to reach out to her and bring her on the show for all of you to learn just all the tips and tools on how you can interpret your dreams and then also ask just questions so they can reveal some truths that maybe you want to know in your own life. So with that, Kelly Sullivan Walden is on a mission to awaken the world to the power of dreams. She's a certified clinical hypnotherapist whose unique approach to dream therapy led her to become a trusted advisor, coach, and consultant, enriching the lives of thousands of individuals, including Fortune 500 executives, UN ambassadors, celebrities, inner city kids, and those stay-at-home moms. Her dream insights have been featured on many talk shows, including The Dr. Oz Show, Ricki Lake, The Real, Bethenny, Coast to Coast, and the Hallmark's Home and Family. Kelly is an inspirational speaker, workshop facilitator, and the host of Ask Dr. Dream on Unity Online Radio. Her approach to dreams is both reverent and zany, which may account for why she's rumored to be the lovechild of Carl Jung and Lucille. In addition to her latest work of art, Dream Goddess Empowerment Cards and the Hero's Journey Dream Oracle Cards, Kelly is also the author of Dream Oracle Cards and 10 books, including bestseller Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and the Unexplainable, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions, I Had the Strangest Dream, and It's All in Your Dreams, and many more. So with that, I'm so excited to welcome Kelly to the show. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Jackie. It's so good to be with you.
It's so amazing reading all of that and everything that you've done and taken, dreams and something so fascinating and brought it to all these platforms and talk shows and got to do some really incredible things with it.
It's very bizarre. It's not what I ever would have imagined doing at all. It really just crept up on me. And this thing I took for granted, I just thought everyone was as fascinated with dreams as I was. And I was trying to get a totally different book published. And my publisher was like, you always talk about dreams. Let's get you, why don't you write a book on dreams? I'm like, what? That's crazy. Everybody already knows about them. She's like, no, they don't. And I really enjoy our conversations. It was actually my agent who encouraged me to write my first book on dreams. And it was like being like following breadcrumbs through an enchanted forest that was completely not what I expected. I was pursuing acting. But it was like acting wasn't pursuing me at all. It was kicking me out. I kept having dreams about being kicked off the set or being killed on the set. And it was like and then even hearing, get out, like, we'll kill you. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to listen to my dreams and get off the set. And so I feel like, sometimes our path isn't what we expect. Sometimes it is, maybe for some people, but definitely not for me. Everything has been just completely led by my dreams. And I'm so grateful because I love it. It's super enchanting, never dull.
Right. It's so fun too. Like even learning a little bit about you and researching this stuff. It's just been so fun, even studying somebody like you that gets to do something so fun.
Thank you. And you have pursued acting and you still do, right? Or
Yes. So I lived in Los Angeles and was acting in New York City, and I loved acting for what it was, but same like you, it's sort of like I didn't like being on set or certain aspects of the LA film industry that kind of came to light. And it's like, well, I loved acting, but I don't like the acting world so much.
right. Or the hashtag Me Too of it all. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yes, that was
that's another show for another day.
You get it. That is exactly it. So I started getting into EFT, like emotional freedom technique, tapping.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, helping people is just fills me up so much more. And
oh my God, we have the same story. Exactly. I became a certified clinical hypnotherapist in the midst of, I went to see a hypnotherapist while I was still acting because I was so neurotic. I was in an acting class that was really good. It was training people at a really high level, but everyone was also super neurotic. Mm-hmm. It's like in order to be really accessible emotionally, we had to like bludgeon ourselves and kind of, I felt like I was making myself sick and crazy in order to bleed for my art. And in a hypnotherapy session, I started to see another possibility for myself. And it's like, why am I doing this? And wow, it'd be really nice to be able to help other people and to be able to, I remember having a session with a client and being like, wow, I'm not waiting for anyone else to say action. I'm saying action. I can help people now. I don't have to wait for 1,000 stars to align, for the right director, producer, casting director, blah, 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 for me to have a chance to do something, to channel something. It's like, I can create my own world. Anyway, that was a blessing, but it was great to have an acting background because I feel like it was training in like stepping into so many other characters that I never would have gotten to explore on this level. On the level of dreams, yeah, we can play all characters, but in the human level, it was a fun exercise to get to build empathy, I think. Yeah,
it's a really good awareness of knowing that everything that we do, even that seems like, oh, I did this, but it didn't work out, is on the way. Like that
totally.
Yeah, it was important for you to become who you are. And it's also really great for everyone listening. It's like when you start listening to, like opening up and letting life kind of lead you in a way, like look what happens to someone like you. It's just you went with it and look at all the success that comes out of it.
And just to drop down into that for a second deeper, I mean, when it didn't work out, there was a night where there was all kinds of things that kind of converged. It was like it was the universe, like literally saying, Kelly, get the hell out of here. And in an acting class, in this one class that was rather abusive, he kicked me out of the class and he had a cassette tape player next to his seat and he played the Death March. Dum, dum, da, dum, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum. And I literally thought, now I need to die. I must die because I've been rejected by this man who I thought was the God of all gods. I'd given him all my power and I'd given everybody my power. It was like I was addicted to giving everyone my power. And I literally thought I needed to die. And it was that bottom, because I didn't die. I became so hungry for every spiritual tool I could find, every 12-step program that would allow me to sit in, every church, every crystal, every hypnosis, every single thing I could grab. I was so hungry and I feel like I learned so quickly, so much. It's like I got my doctorate at an expedited pace because I just had to learn that there was something bigger to life or not be here. And that was when my dreams started to come back to me. I had dreamt really vividly as a kid. And then in the pursuit of acting, I had let it go because I was more externally oriented. But then I got my dreams back towards the end of that. And I felt like they were the rope ladder that I got to climb out of my pit through my dreams. Even though they didn't start off so pleasant, they were nightmares at first.
Right. It's just such a beautiful thing. It's like the wound is where the light enters you, you know? It's sort of, that's what came from it. And it kind of was a death of who you thought you wanted to be. And then a rebirth of like who you were being called to be.
Exactly. To me, I just feel like, God, I'm really grateful. I'm still kind of shocked when I go back because I'm writing about that time right now. So I'm kind of back, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Yeah, 25 years. That was half a life ago. And it's a shock to me that, and I think that I'm not unique. I think for any of us who have a dark night of the soul, if we hit our knees, if we have that moment where it looks like there's no way, there's nothing left but for me to take myself out. If we just breathe and we just, it's like, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. If we are open, and I even say, I mean, this is part of my own personal belief system. If we make a demand on God and the universe and say, look, if you want to keep me here, give me a sign, send me something, give me a dream. I need something. I'm paying attention. I'm doing my part. You do yours. And of course, the universe is always doing its part. But in that awareness, then call on a dream and call on some kind of a sign. And when we ask, we are answered.
And sometimes it's not the way we think it looks. Right? If only when I listen to that, I just think, if only we could have a little peek forward and know what this time is for, that we can see that while we're going through the pain. But I guess then you don't get the muscle built. So.
Right. But when we ask, I mean, I can think of the dreams that I had at that time, and even other dark nights of the soul that I had, even like challenges with my own husband. I write about this in my book, It's All in Your Dreams, that there was a night where I thought, that's it, we're done. And sometimes, I mean, I know you're going through some stuff yourself, and a lot of people, sometimes the end is the end, but sometimes what seems like the end is just the end of a chapter. And I was thinking before I went to sleep, okay, God, whoever's listening, send me a dream to give me some guidance, because I can't do this anymore. And I had a very vivid dream that I saw my husband as a little boy. He was like maybe 5, and he was playing with toys, and I was looking over his shoulder, and he was so cute and so precious and so innocent. And I was like, I just wanted to protect him. And I didn't see, he wasn't adversarial. He wasn't a jerk. He was just like precious. And I felt myself just wanting to love him. And this voice that was standing behind me, I couldn't see what was behind me, but it said, why not try loving him? Mm-hmm. And I was like, but he doesn't deserve it. but come on. And it was like, just try loving him. And I was like, okay, kind of pouty, but so I was probably 5 years old too. I don't want to, but okay, fine. So I just let myself love him in spite of, in those moments, I thought he didn't deserve it. And I let the love rush through me, fill him up in my dream. And I woke up in the morning and he looked different to me. It's like something alchemical changed. And I don't even remember what the issue was, but we were reset. I was different. And so I think sometimes we never know exactly what we're going to get when we ask for the dream to help us. But I think when we do ask, we get something that will lead us to the next step.
I so agree. That is one of my biggest things I tell people. It's like, you can go to coaches, you can go to doctors, you can go to all these people. And it's like, and ask. Don't answer it from your mind, and don't look for an answer, try and hear an answer. Just ask and let it go. And it's so beautiful that example that you shared is sort of, it gave you, well, we think going this way is the answer, when it's just, well, why don't we just try something simple and look how beautiful something can shift. And Esther Perel, do you know who Esther Perel is?
Oh my God, I keep hearing her name every time I turn around. Esther Perel. I need to meet this woman. Okay. That's the third time I've heard her name this week. So I don't know her, but now I'm going to be on the pursuit. It's how it rolls. I
usually say when you hear things in threes, that's when it clicks. It's like,
totally. Okay. And when you dream with threes in them, that's like another highlighter pen, saying, pay attention. So I'm paying attention.
So your story reminded me of her, because she says that you can have these relationships, and if a relationship ends, it's meant to end. And I kind of believe you follow your path, just like acting ended, so this can be rebirth.
Exactly.
And she says you can have two options. You can break down and rebirth the new relationship within the same story, within the same person. Because oftentimes people don't want to leave the person. They just want to change their story.
Yeah.
And it just makes so much sense. It's like when you had that dream, you didn't change him as the person. You changed your story about the person.
Yes. And it's so bizarre. And I always wonder, is it just Dana? Dana's my husband. Or is this a phenomenon universally? I don't know. But every time I shift, he shifts.
Oh.
And it's like, and I remember I was complaining to my mom on another day. I was like, God, Dana is just, and she's like, well, Kelly, why don't you do that thing where you like shift the way you see him and then he changes? And I'm like, but then I'm always having to do all the work. She's like, yeah, but it works. I'm like, God, stop it, Mom. That's not fair. But it's like, oh, wait. Yeah, the world is our mirror. I shift and the ripple effect happens. It does. And I think it's probably the way it is with everybody. Even if their behavior persists, we see them differently. And I think it's like a Groundhog's Day. Did you ever see that movie with Bill Murray?
Yes. Yep.
It's like they change when we finally wake up. We finally get it. There's something that happens. Like maybe they're a blessing. They're here to teach us something. And I know Dana for sure is mine. I remember arguing with him once. It sounds like all we do is argue, but we don't. We just have an intense relationship. But we were in the bathroom and there was like mirrors all over the place. And I looked in the mirror and I was pointing and I was like, but you always, and then I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. I'm totally pointing at myself times 20.
Right.
Like, okay, I need to get this. Okay.
You said in something in reflecting of dreams that the people, we can get into this. You said that the people in our dreams are often a version of ourselves. So it's something similar. Oh, it's like our relationships. And I find like as a mom to two small boys, it's something is in their energy is a little off and we have no control over them yelling or being grumpy or them being loud, or we can try to control it. But what I often do is I stop and say, okay, what is it in me that I can shift in my own energy? And then all of a sudden they show up and get really cuddly or really in a different, I feel like that's my one way of feeling in control, I guess, in retrospect, is like when I can't control the outside world, but I can control how I feel right now. And that's where I'll go.
Isn't that funny? It's like when all else fails, let's do the inner work. I've often joked that one of these days I'm going to write a book called The Lazy Girl's Rules for Life. And it'll be all about doing these internal shifts and then watching the mountains move and the Red Seas parting and everything changing without having to sweat, without having to lift a finger, without having to pick up the phone, without having to do anything. Like we sit at home and go, I'm going to dreamifest this. We get it internally, and then the phone rings. Something happens, and it's just the way it is. Maybe I won't call it the lazy girl's rules to life, but I flirt with the idea of calling a book dreamifesting, or that'll be something down the line.
It's funny you say that because I just wrote down dreamifest. I love that. I'm going to dreamifest this instead of manifest. I'm going to dreamifest this.
It's just a lot lazier, which is lazy in a good way.
And I feel like the feminine energy, though, it's like and this is not about male and female, this is just like the feminine essence. Yeah. It's like we call things to us instead of, it's like action. It's like, no, let's get really present and really clear. And what you said, visualize, and it's like bring the right person, bring the right opportunity, and it just shows up.
And raise our vibration in the process of that. I mean, really, it's all shorthand code for get the vibration to match that thing, that place, that shift. And then it has to. It's just physics. Things do shift. And I have to say, it's a little bit of a misnomer to say it's lazy. I say that to be a little cheeky because I feel like I'm under the influence of my grandma Sullivan, who always said, oh, I'm just lazy. And and it's really, she would just get everybody to do all the work. But it's clever. It feels like it's really just managing energy wisely, being efficient with energy. So that the energy that I do exert is in the creating, or is in the one thing that only I can do. And let's not exhaust ourselves, or I'm saying this to myself, let me not exhaust myself running around like crazy trying to get people to, hey, look at me. Hey, change this. Hey, you ought to do. It's like, okay, no, that's exhausting. And I've tried it. And if it worked, I would still be doing that. So it doesn't work. And it is magical to come into this space of realizing we do have a secret power, and maybe it doesn't need to be so secret anymore.
And sometimes it's just what we think is the opposite. It's like we think hard work, or we're trained that like pushing out, pushing is what's going to get the result. And a lot of really successful people that I've been lucky to be around or be in the room with that have created massive amounts of success. It's like they still work hard, but they don't come at it from what you just described. It's like they come at it from the quote unquote lazy way of being like, it's going to show up for me today. If I waste my energy worrying on that, I'm not present in the part that I'm inspired to do.
One of the questions that I ask when I'm meditating, or when it's like a mantra that is like a kind of a flag that I carry that I remember to ask is, God, what's the best use of me? What's the best use of me? What's the best use of me? And this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I remember hearing Kevin Kelly. He's a futurist, and he wrote a book called The Inevitable, and it was about kind of the future of business and about how so many things are becoming automated. And, people are looking at the short run of that and thinking, oh no, so many people are going to lose jobs. But the upside of it is that we're all sort of going to be forced to have to look at what can't be duplicated by a machine. What is it that you and I can bring to life that has value that no one else can do and that can't be duplicated because it's completely unique. It's part of our own channel. Let's focus on that instead of just doing the things that can be outsourced or can be machine operated. It's like it causes us to have to ask, what is the best use of me and my spirit? So in some way, letting the dreamifesting handle all of the heavy lifting so that the energy that I do exert is in that, I call it the narrow of the marrow, that one little spot in the center of me that connects with spirit, that it's my work to do, and it's pure joy and magic. So what if I just lived my life inside of that little dot?
It feels so good. Just being in the vibe of that. I don't know if people listening can feel that. It's like, God, what is the best use of me? It just makes me right away feel like that blissful part in meditation that you get to, and you're like, yes, that's it. It's like right in the eye of the chaos. It's like that's where all that flow happens.
So if your listeners are they going to be able to see you? Are they going to see this?
No, it's for audio.
It's just audio. Okay, so you guys are missing out on seeing Jackie right now. She's so beautiful, and just that her expression, it was like this performance art piece that she just did that was really gorgeous. You should let him see that piece. That was cool.
Thank you. It just felt it. It's like you feel that vibe, and it's like, yes, I love that in the flow moment. I meditate every day and do energetic work and all of that stuff. So it's like getting into that space is what I look for, what I enjoy. What you said, pure joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Heaven on earth.
So I know you said like how kind of you made that transition from acting into dreams, but how did you become to understand dreams? So how did you know, when I listened to you and you're talking about all the different interpretations of them, what path did you start on to even how to interpret them?
Wow. So super organic. So it started off, I would say my young years, it was really intuitive. And because I don't know if you've heard me talk about my sister, but I've got 4 sisters, one closest to me in age, a year and a half younger. She and I always ended up sharing a bedroom together. And we always did a lot of tandem dreaming and remember, like we would talk about dreams. We still do to this day when we talk. We have similar dreams, and our dreams are very much about each other, and we will discover that we've both been in each other's dreams, and we knew what was happening. So I think because of that very strange dream relationship on a regular basis as a kid, my first level of training was simply passion and interest and excitement. And probably because I'm that old, it was before video games and before any of the things that were on a device. So we had to we got dreams to play with back in the olden days. So we were never bored. Right. But then, as I was saying, I went into acting, kind of forgot about my dreams. Then I became a hypnotherapist, and I didn't know that I was going to think about and focus on dreams as a hypnotherapist. I just had seen a hypnotherapist for my own therapy and had a really wonderful experience. And as I decided to go into the training myself and realizing, oh, hypnosis is all about the subconscious mind and the language of the subconscious mind, and dreams happen to be the language of the subconscious mind. So it happened that I began, that was when I began to professionally study this phenomenon. It was no longer just a personal phenomenon of mine, but I started to be able to look out and see the world through these lenses, and then started to see clients. So hypnosis and the study of the subconscious mind first. And then, well, over the years, I had become familiar with Carlos Castaneda. He brought shamanism to the West. He's kind of the face of shamanism. And I was really fascinated with his version of dreaming that was not the kind of dreaming that we mostly think of, but the dreaming for massive transformation, and dreaming as a vehicle to go to other realms, and dreaming as a vehicle to communicate with beings that we would never otherwise have access to. Like, dreaming is not just problem solving, but dreaming as seriously awakening to the multi-dimensional. So that was a layer. And then I started going to Teotihuacan, Mexico. I went first as a participant and then as a teacher. And I've been doing that for it's been about 15 years. And there's a particular kind of dreaming that happens in the Toltec work. And you may be familiar with Don Miguel Ruiz and the Four Agreements. So that whole book starts off talking about how we're all dreaming all the time. And the work there, and I have the chills just bringing that up. Yeah. It's like, goosey alert.
One of my favorite books. And when you read that book anytime, even if you read it 5 years later, there's so much that you get from it.
Oh, it's so funny. I just had a dream about that book. There was a homeless guy standing by a car wash that was trying to get my attention, and he was trying to give me the book. And I crossed the street and I'm like, oh, and then he gives me another book, Dreaming Heaven, which is a book that I wrote about. I co-wrote it with Lee McCormick, Ginny Gentry, and Frank Hayhurst about the Toltec work. And he was giving me that. And I'm like, but I already know that book. Anyway, there was so I still have to decode why he was giving me my own book, but I guess it was like my own digestion of the Four Agreements in a creative way. But anyway, there's just been different teachers that I've met, shamanic teachers as well as clinical teachers, that I think combined with my own intuition, it's kind of led me to my own style. And it tends to have, I think, the characteristic of my way of looking at dreams. First of all, my belief is that everybody is the best interpreter of their own dream. Don't listen to just me. Don't listen to anyone, no matter how many letters are after their name. It's all meant to, like you said earlier, Jackie, empower you. Like, yes, have a coach. Sure, have a therapist. But at the end of the day, all roads lead back to you and your own empowerment and your own phenomenal wisdom that you already have. That's, to me, it's really about empowering people to wake up and realize that they have their own access. Me, as a frequent flyer, I'm here to just kind of point out some patterns and some themes that could be supportive to hopefully trigger your own wisdom and your own intuition.
It sums up so beautifully of what I wanted to create this podcast about was to, in 2020, I think it's apparent, especially with this, quarantine, and we don't have access to so many things. It's like now we're really left with ourselves. And it's like, how can I have the tools in me? Let's say the chiropractor closed. Let's say you can't go to the Tony Robbins seminar. What do I have within myself? And then bringing experts like you that come on, and exactly what you said. It's like you leave an imprint, you offer some kind of tip and tool, so you, the listener, and you, the person, can now say, well, I know how to do that, or I know how to just stop and breathe, or I know how to pay attention to my dreams or journal, or so you can become more empowered, and you were someone along the way that helped them do that.
Awesome. And as a sidebar, this particular time that we're living through in history is a time that we've never lived through before as a people. And more people now are paying attention to dreams, are having more vivid dreams, are even having dreams that reflect COVID-19. A lot of people there's a phenomenon. There's a Harvard study that's happening right now that's received thousands of coronavirus-esque dreams looking for patterns, just like they found around 9/11. There were so many dreams that were indicating, like predicting what was happening and even offering like preventative measures and then even healing after the fact. So this is it's a marker in history. And because for many people, we don't have to drive anywhere. We're not having to go to work in the same way. We have a little bit more time to sleep in the morning, a little bit more time to record dreams. So it feels like it's the season of dreaming right now. It's like we're making lemonade out of lemons. And one of those beautiful lemon meringue pies is that we get to remember our dreams more than we ever have.
It's such a great perspective. And I often tell people and work with people and coach people when they tell me all the bad things about this time, it's like, yes. And what's the other side of it? And it's just even something as simple like that. We have the opportunity now to pause in the morning and do A, B, and C that we couldn't do, or we're not running out the door all the time. And now we can see what our relationship is like. We can see what I believe there's just as much opportunity in it as crisis.
For sure. 100%. In fact, one of the products that I have is the Hero's Journey Dream Oracle cards. And I think it's interesting because in the Hero's Journey, hats off to Joseph Campbell, who's the one who put the Hero's Journey on the map. The whole idea is that the hero that we all are, there's a hero in all of us. It's like there's the ancient stories about the one who goes in search of the treasure, searches the world over to find it, only to realize it was in his backyard the whole time. And because we can't leave, it's kind of like find the gold that's in your own backyard. And in some ways, you don't have to leave. And once you find the gold in your own backyard, guess what? This whole thing's going to be over and you're going to get to travel everywhere when you no longer have to distract yourself from yourself. There's gold right where you're sitting. And we're so used to running around everywhere else but here. So it's a really wonderful time to go, oh, let's see what's here. Let me unpack what's here. It may be the most courageous work we ever do, is to really drop in and maximize this opportunity.
I agree. We're going to look back and say, thankfully during that time, it's just, again, hard in the moment sometimes to find it. But later on, it's like, well, I created that business during COVID, or I created that thing.
Totally.
You mentioned sleeping next to your sister. I just wrote a little note question about, do your dreams get affected by someone that you're sleeping next to in the room with versus alone?
Oh God, for sure. In fact, there's some dream communities that are very religious about not sleeping with somebody, even your spouse. Like you'll have sex, but then you go sleep somewhere else. But you don't, because it's like there's a purity about the space that is your own. And I can appreciate that. I don't do it. I sleep way better when I sleep with my husband, even if some of the dreams that I have are influenced by what he's going through. I think we do each other's laundry for us. If I'm going through something, he's going to be dreaming about something that I'm working through, and vice versa. For sure. It's just, and, so it's not just who we're sleeping next to, although I think that is very relevant, but anybody in our life. So you as a coach, or anybody who's listening to this that would consider themselves a sensitive person, and that would be anybody who's human. I think some people are more so than others, but if there's somebody in your life that is going through something, it's often the case that you'll dream about them or for them, somebody that might not have the capacity to do it for themselves. It's like, oh, your laundry machine's broken. Here, just bring your laundry over to mine. I'll do that. I'll do those loads for you. So sometimes the dreams are not yours at all, even though, of course you get a little something out of it. But I had one of those last night on behalf of someone I know who had a really abusive relationship with their father. And I was the daughter, and my father wasn't abusive, but in my dream, my father was. And I got to I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for what this human went through and like how she survived. And so I feel like as a therapist, sometimes I feel like I have to walk in their moccasins 20 miles and I do it in a dream just to give me some deeper insight.
So I put it out there for listeners and sent out an email on Facebook and all of that. So these are dreams just that people have written in. And then I chatted with a few of them a little bit just to kind of get a little bit more context for you. Mm-hmm. So the first one is from Tia from New York. And she said a big yes. Okay. So
Hi, Tia.
Right. So almost every night for the past little bit, I've been waking up around 4 a.m. after having had a dream about witnessing some sort of tragedy involving my 3-year-old. Dreams I am present, but I'm unable to save her in time. The most memorable part involves her falling off cliffs, or I'm just getting there too late, getting into car accidents. After the dream, I am so upset, and I am usually for hours after it. They never involve other people. It's just my daughter. She's usually just out of my grasp. Whether it's a dog attack, a snake attack, she's just a little too far from me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Thank you, Tia. So first of all, I just want to like wrap my arms around you, give you a socially distant, but very powerful hug.
That was just a socially distant hug.
Via the airwaves. I think one of the ways that mothers, I don't have children in this lifetime that I've birthed. I have stepkids and dogs and godchildren and whatever. And so I don't have that personal experience. But what I understand is in order to develop the eyes in the back of your head that you need and require as a mother, these dreams sometimes they're not meant to torture you. But I believe that they're helping to develop a 6th, 7th, and 8th, and 9th, and 10th sense so that you become hyper aware, so that you do become a better caretaker of your kids. So sometimes like there's a whole study on what's right about nightmares. Why do we have them? And one finding is that they make us better survivors. They put us through the rings of fire of the worst case scenarios so that in some way we've already gone through it, so that if the worst thing should actually play out in our life, we're 10 steps ahead. We already know, oh, wait a second, I need to step over here. I need to not go there. I need to do this. We have so many stories. Ooh, I got the chills. In the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, Dreams and Premonitions, in particular, I'm remembering there was a few stories that were told by mothers that had something similar. And in one instance, this doesn't happen all the time, but this one instance happened where there was one mother that kept having a recurring dream of something happening to her son, getting hit by a car or something. And it was jarring and horrible. And one day she was in her house looking out the window and it was exactly the scene from her dream. And she recognized this is the scene from my dream. So she jumped into action, ran downstairs, ran across the street, grabbed her son, and a car similar to the one in the dream was on its way toward him. She saved his life. So, holy Lord. So I think more often than not, our dreams are symbolic. They're meant to, they're not literal most of the time, but sometimes they are. And so I would say, don't take what's happening in your dream as this is what's going to happen, or this is a sign that something bad will happen. It's either it's preparing you to have eyes in the back of your head and all around, and or should one of these scenarios play out, you are 10 steps ahead of it so that you can prevent something from happening. So one last thing, if you want to, because it's unpleasant to have these dreams, and sometimes they can interfere with your sleep. It sounds like, it's jarring, it's adrenalizing. One thing you can do is work, and this is for anybody with any kind of a dream that leaves them feeling upset. In your waking state, imagine that you're back in the dream and you can finish the dream kind of in a quasi-meditation about the dream. Imagine that you have directorial input and you can change what happens and envision yourself not just ending the dream on a cliffhanger, but picking it up where it left off. And now you direct the dream in the way that would give you power so that you can see, so you can kind of connect the synapses in your brain with, yes, this scary thing happened, but I was able to do X, Y, and Z. Or even, oh my God, my child did fall, or my child did get attacked by a dog, but then they develop a superpower, or I know, a friend of mine's son got attacked by my dog. It was very scary. Oh my God, horrible. And he became so proud of this scar. He became the most popular kid in school. Like everyone wanted to see his scar. He's now like this famous baseball player. He's just like this, like, it's like it made him tough. And I hope this is helpful. I mean, Jackie.
One thing is I completely agree. Life happens for you. That's one of my biggest things for myself and for other people. It's like every crisis has a blessing. I might not see it in this moment. I'm just going to hold that space for everything has both sides to it. So one of the questions I wanted to ask, and that's really relevant. I know Tia, and she's a single parent, so that kind of like relates to that a little bit of feeling like you have to be all protection for your daughter. So I will pass that on to her. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you one quick question before we go on to the next one. When I put it out there, send me your dreams.
Yeah.
And me too, if I have to think of a reoccurring dream, I went dark too. This scary dream. Why one after another I had these, like I'm being attacked by a bear, a whale. Why do we remember the bad? Like, why didn't people write in and say, Jackie, I have this dream I win $1 million every other week and I have all this success and love and passion?
Right.
Why is that?
So many things to say. So the fact that it is a fact that that most of the remembered dreams tend to be the nightmares. And part of that is because they are so emotionally gripping that they leave a deep imprint. But that doesn't mean that those are the dreams that we're mostly having. They just are the ones that are the easiest to remember because of the intense emotional impact.
Right.
So when people get really good at remembering dreams, they'll start to have the ability to remember more subtle dreams. Like, oh, wait a minute, I was flying last night too, or I did win the lottery. Even though those are intensely happy feelings, the way our brains are wired, our limbic brain focuses on the negative because it's like we're going to survive. It's like if we're walking on a beautiful mountain path, and if we were really in our survival brain, we would just be looking for the rattlesnakes on the ground. We're not going to be looking at the beautiful leaves flowing in the wind and wow, the sun setting. We'd be like, snakes, snakes, snakes. So it's this part of us that is very adapted for survival to focus on the negative dreams. And they're not even negative inherently, but they feel negative when they happen. Actually, I believe there are no negative dreams. Every dream is a blessing. At some point, just like with anybody who develops psychic ability, so often it begins with being psychic about tragic circumstances. And then once you get better at it and you mature that talent, you can start to become psychic about very subtle and very beautiful things.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, does stress come out in our sleep sometimes? Like if you're having more of a stressful time. So stress, I want to know if that affects your dreams. And
Yes.
then also nutrition, supplements, like if you're going through any kind of like holistic treatments, detoxing, does all of that affect our dreams?
Absolutely. It's almost like nowhere is it more obvious about the body, mind, spirit connection than in dreams. So what we put in our body will show up in our dreams. Like if we're eating sugar before bedtime, if we're drinking wine, all of those things are lovely and fine. But if you have them within an hour or two, even 3 of going to sleep, it's going to absolutely affect your body. Your blood sugar is going to spike. It's going to trigger adrenaline. There's going to be a flood of thoughts that associate with that adrenaline that comes up when our blood sugar spiking and like rising and then falling. So it's ideal if we can. I mean, there's some sleep societies that are really religious about how we treat our body and what we do with our emotion before we go to sleep. It's like they treat dreams like it's the big event of our day. So if we have any unfinished emotion, we would want to work out as much of that as possible before going to sleep so that our dreams are free to be creative. Our dreams are free to travel. Our dreams are free to explore other realms. Otherwise, if we go to bed with our stress and we haven't endeavored to work any of it out, then our dreams are going to be forced to have to do that dirty laundry for us, which is fine. It's an amazing gift. We can go to sleep pissed off and confused and hurt and upset and wake up relatively fine because our dreams helped us to move our way through it. It's why so many of us say before going to sleep, if somebody asks us a question, we say, let me sleep on it. I'll get to you in the morning. It's one of the best things we can say. Let me sleep on it. Let me sleep on it. Let me sleep on it, because we become so much clearer as a function of having had dream cycle after dream cycle. We are a better, cleaner, clearer version of ourselves. And if we really wanted to maximize that time, we would do our very best to eat and drink and exercise in such a way that we would have great dreams at night.
That's really great, because in practice or in relationship, I would make it a point not to want to go to sleep fighting or not to want to go to sleep where I'm in a disturbed state. Yeah. But if that should happen, because it's unavoidable sometimes, in the morning, I just thought of the whole situation lighter and brighter and different. Yep. So it was kind of good to go to bed and not work it out in that dark, heavier energy. Especially if you're dealing with somebody where it just gets worse and worse and worse. I know sometimes it's like that old wives' tale about don't go to bed angry, like work it out before. Well, you can't do that with everybody, because if you're hurt, they're hurt. You're just going to keep hurting each other. So sometimes just call it a day and resume the next morning. Go ahead and dream on it. Sometimes for me, though, I'll find myself, if I'm tossing and turning over something, I'll wake up and I'll go and I'll sit in my office and I'll journal. I'll journal for like a half an hour and just help to process some of the stuff that my dreams are helping me to move through. So I'll work in tandem with my dreaming to just push it out so that my dreams don't have to work so hard. It's kind of like if you're doing laundry. I keep using the laundry as a metaphor. It's like if you have a bunch of muddy clothes, you might want to shake some of it out before putting it in the laundry. Your laundry, it'll probably come out fine, but it's going to tax the machine. It's going to make it a little bit harder for it to run. So do something where you're like meeting it halfway, so you don't just pile on and dump everything in it. Does that make sense? It is. It's such a good suggestion. I'm really big on, if there's something that's keeping you awake, a lot of people, when they say, how do you go to sleep so easily? Or I stay up and I'm thinking. I say the best thing to do if you're staying up and thinking is just get out that journal. There's even apps that I think it's Evernote or something like that. Just write it out. You don't need to sort it all out. One of the funny things that comes to me is like anyone in relationship and you feel like that's that night, it's going that way. You're like, I'm just going to sort it out in my dreams. I'll see you in the morning. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We can give a lot. We can give a lot to our dreams. I always think of it as our after hours assistant. It's like, just give it to her. Just give it to her. She'll deal with it. Out. Okay. So I have a few more for you from people who are anxiously waiting for this day. Oh my God. So this is Sarah from New York. I have had this reoccurring dream since I was a young adult. I'm driving and then all of a sudden the road stops. I drive into the water and the whole car goes under. While I'm driving, I'm just normal. Sometimes people are with me and sometimes I'm alone. Once I go under the water of the dream, it just kind of ends. But I do get that overwhelming feeling like when you fall. Oh, well, if it were my dream, and I'll be relatively quick because I know we've got a lot of dreams and two more, yes. To me, this is such an interesting theme. So I'll just say this. If it were my dream, I often look for masculine, feminine themes in dreams. And this has such a clear masculine and such a clear feminine. So anything that would be man-made, like a road and a car, those could represent, we could say, the masculine, the tangible, the things that we can touch and feel that give us a sense of security. And then there's a place where
it stops, and then there's this deep dive into the water, and it's overwhelming, going under. So the water represents the feminine. The water represents, from my perspective, the emotional self, the intuitive self. So if it were my dream, I would be thinking that, wow, I'm feeling a lot more secure with the tangible, the touchable, the masculine aspects of my life that are maybe more logical and sensible. And I haven't yet developed a healthy relationship with my depth, with my emotion. Maybe I'm scared of it. Some people, when it comes to water, they're either really happy, like, finally, and they're really ecstatic in their depth, or they're terrified of it. So I would say to Sarah, she's on the verge. She's being initiated into her depth where the road ends. I love the symbolism. And again, I get the goosebumps on this. It feels like, it's almost like when logic ends, creativity takes over. It's like Einstein said, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. So if we're problem solving here, there's logic will only take us so far, and then the road ends. Then we have to leap off. We go into this other part of ourselves that sees things more intuitively, more internally. Now, there can also be, this dream can also point to perhaps a trauma, like a time in life where things were going just fine and dandy, and then it stopped, and then things are upside down and painful, and like, whoa, like losing one's grip. It's kind of like in the hero's journey. The hero's journey begins in the ordinary world, and then everything flips upside down. So to me, this means Sarah is a hero on a hero's journey. Mm-hmm. And this is a perfect dream that is a symbolic of the stage called the belly of the whale, where everything's upside down. You're in water, and you are forced to fall in love with all things feminine, all things that are a little bit bizarre, that are a little bit untamed, a little bit unpredictable, the intuitive, the mystical, the magical, the emotional, the wild. And just when we fall in love with the whale in our dreams, just when we fall in love with that in the hero's journey stage, is when the whale spits us out and it's time to get back up. So she's kind of Persephone, kind of tying in some themes here. It's kind of underworld-ish. She's not, I feel like there's some falling in love, some surrendering to do here that will help to expedite her process of becoming the hero, shero that she is.
I will pass that along to her. It's really interesting. The next one, or the one right next to her, I have from Melissa from Canada. Okay. He says, so I have this reoccurring dream. I've had it twice in the last 2 days, and it's about whales. You just mentioned it. Yep. So it's about whales.
I love it.
And it's about water. I am always scared of them, and they are in water. Lots of them swimming around me, and I'm scared to death. They are big black whales. So that's funny. It's kind of similar. That's why I was like, well, good, perfect intro into Melissa's dream.
So I just want to add another layer so we can just copy and paste some of what I just said to Sarah, to Melissa, and just say, okay, you've got a little work to do. It's almost like most of us, it's like that Marianne Williamson quote, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. Mm-hmm. And we are terrified. I mean, this is not Marianne Williamson anymore. P.S. You could look up that quote. It's amazing. But so much of our power is like we are afraid of it. We don't understand it. It's mysterious to us. We push it away. Yikes. Everyone and everything in our dream is an aspect of ourselves. So I say that for Melissa and Sarah, but let's focus on Melissa. All these whales are aspects of you and your depth. Whales. Okay, so I have to just throw in this little wild piece. One of my best friends just passed away a week and a half ago. And her name's Gypsy. And I have been getting whale synchronicities like crazy. Whales were her spirit animal. She had them tattooed around her wrists, around her ankles. She was like, and when I pull the cards and I ask Gypsy to communicate with me, I keep getting the whale card in the Hero's Journey Dream Oracle deck. And everywhere I turn around, somebody's talking about whales. And she was very emotional, she was a musician and singing, and like very much, I mean, I feel like you would love her because she's a lot like you.
Oh.
And like a lot, like very deep and beautiful at the same time, like has this very sweet, like you'd look at her and think, oh, she's never had a rough moment in her life. She's just perfect. And it's like, oh, wow, she's got all this depth and she's got the treble and the bass. Like, whoa, what a woman. And so she was really like, to me, the whale is such a special animal. And I know that I feel like Gypsy's in this space and she's like, and when I read what's in the whale card in the goddess, in the hero's journey deck, one of the things I put in there is that whales are known in the dream community for being a shorthand for our greatest wisdom, our largesse. Whales are ancient. And they really haven't changed much over time. And many people associate them with being from the planet Sirius. Like their sonar is tuned into something that if we were wise and if we humans wanted to really evolve in a quickened way, we would meditate on the whales. We would say, what are they doing? What are they thinking? How do they do what they do? We would sync up with them and we would make a quantum leap in our evolution. So Melissa, girlfriend, this is your homework. This is like the coolest homework ever. And I hope I get to hear from you about how it goes and how this whale energy ends up becoming part of your spirit animal pack and how this helps to quicken your evolution. I believe that's what this series of dreams is calling you to do.
So she's scared of aspects of herself or like
her power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her depth, her power. It's like, we don't know. It's normal to be scared of what is unfamiliar. It's normal. But what is most alien to us is our own power because we have been enculturated to identify ourselves as, oh, I'm just this woman who's meant to have a job and have kids and do X, Y, and Z. So we've shrunk ourselves into these teeny tiny little packages and we think that's who I am. And I've accepted that. Do not tell me otherwise. And our dreams are like, hello, Melissa, you are 1,000,000 times bigger than that. Would you wake the bleep up and like remember and like embrace that because you've got work to do, girlfriend.
I know Melissa and I'm going to relate this to her, but I think as you're talking, she's going to be smiling because she has 2 kids. I hope I'm not off in their age, but maybe 2 kids under 4 and all about the mommy and she had them close together and all that stuff. So it's making me smile to hear that, it is. It's
she's
like
here to have a whale of a time. I kind of want to read you what's in the whale card. Do we have a second for that?
Yes.
Okay. So here's it's in the hero's journey Oracle deck, and it says, whale of a time, your charge is to enlarge. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Joseph Campbell. The message is, most people think of the belly of the whale stage of the hero's journey as a dark night of the soul, but it doesn't have to be. The key to finding joy in your connection with the whale aspect, whether you are in its belly or outside admiring it, is twofold. You have the ability to go with the flow and the potential to own your power. When you contemplate the nature of this loving, ancient being we call whale, envision swimming with it and receiving its wisdom and love. You are reminded that you are sovereign, wild, and free. The whale is here to remind you that whenever you find yourself in a challenging circumstance, your charge is to enlarge. Your mandate is to become a heart space so large that the whole world can fit within it, i.e., all parts of you and all parts of humanity with nothing left out. In the belly of the whale, you're reminded to stop resisting and instead open and allow the diversity of life and the entire ocean of emotion of all sentient beings to be celebrated and loved. Dream symbol, whales and sea creatures. Dreams of whales or other sea creatures, fish, dolphin, whales, mermaids, etc., signify that you are connecting with your own multidimensional wisdom, intelligence, and healing. Whales are magnificent creatures, thought to be a more enlightened species than humans. and they rely upon sonar to communicate. This dream may be suggesting that you are becoming a more telepathic, advanced version of yourself. Mantra. As I embrace my inner whale, I feel my heart grow as big and deep as the ocean.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like I want to go to bed and dream about whales tonight. I was like,
I know.
Can I make myself dream of certain things?
Yes. Think about them before. Look at a picture, watch a movie, watch the movie Whale Rider or whatever. Think about it before you go to sleep, picture of it, and that will tend to trigger dreams that relate to it.
It's like hacking your dreams. We don't have to dissect.
It's not like that. It is that. Yeah.
Dream hack.
We don't have ultimate dream hack. Yeah.
Okay, 2 more quick ones and then we'll wrap up here.
Okay.
Someone wrote, wow, I saw your post about asking for dreams. So that night before I went to bed, I asked to have a dream.
Okay.
I sometimes don't remember my dreams, but I wanted to be able to write something. So I got in an elevator with my younger son. I pressed 7 and my older son accidentally didn't get on the elevator in time. The elevator goes up to 7. So then I just pressed 1 to go back down. It starts to go down, but it starts going really fast, passing number 1. And it goes to a dark parking lot in the basement, turns the corner and everything goes black. And I'm terrified. I wake up.
Oh, wow. Okay. So in a nutshell, I feel like this touches on some of the themes that we've talked about, like from the first dream that you brought to me from Tia. It's like being a mother means that you're meant to develop this ability to see everything. So in some way, this would be a terrifying thing. If this actually happened, this would be terrifying. So in some way, the fear of this dream is helping her to have this extra sense to be able to keep track of her kids. And I would say for myself, and if it were my dream, an elevator can represent so many things. Sometimes an elevator, I believe, represents success or aspirations to go above. It's almost like in our culture, we value elevating. We value going up in the world. We don't value going down. Going down feels like you're losing the plot. Everything's falling apart. Oh no, you're going down. Going up is where it's at. And sometimes when we elevate too fast, we leave a part of ourselves behind. And the goal, I believe, I know some people that have maybe in their success, in their ambition, have gone too far, too fast. And then they end up having the snap effect where it's like they can't sustain it because there was some part of their innocence or their vulnerability that they just ran out of patience for. So this might be about her kids, but it also might be about her younger self, her younger masculine self, keeping track of this as I don't know if she's like a mom plus a working woman who wants to have a career for herself or wants to go places or has her own aspirations, which most women do. They love being a mom for sure, but they also, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a human too. I came here to grow. I didn't come here just to listen to nursery rhymes and read children's stories all day. I have my own desires to rise and become something in the world. And it feels often like there's that conflict between one's own ambition would be leaving the kids behind. So maybe there's a struggle there that this dream is helping her to elevate, helping her to integrate so that she can work out how she does get to go. Maybe she doesn't get to go up so high at first. Maybe it's a slower process, but you keep everyone together as you go.
Makes sense.
So to me, it's not a bad thing. When there's a down in the dream, to me, I get excited because just like I get excited about the goddess Persephone, I think what's underground parking lot, these darker regions are important, just like the belly of the whale is important because it's like we're meant to balance our highs with our lows. We can't just always be like, happy, 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 up, 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 and then we crash. It's like we go up and then we come down so that we eventually find some balance.
Thank you. It's even reading some of these, I kind of have chills even just reading people's nightmares, but listening to what you're saying, it's kind of like it makes it a lot more calming and soothing and that these are all for interpretation. They're not bad. They might not be premonitions. What would you offer people like when they wake up? Like Tia said, she wakes up at 4 a.m. and they feel so real that you can't go back to sleep. I know for me, I just keep myself up for a little bit, or I do what you said is like try and change the ending consciously. Yes. What do you kind of recommend if someone like can't go back to sleep or they have a nightmare and they kind of feel that?
Right. Well, I say like if you're struggling with, like if you had a dream that woke you up and you're like, gasping for air and you're fitful and you notice it and you've tried to get back into a sweet sleep and it's not working. Like, let's just say you've given it a good 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes and it's just not working. Then I say, get up, put some water on your face, make yourself some chamomile tea, sit and do some writing, some journaling, some venting consciously, and maybe finish the dream in your journal. If you have the wherewithal to do that, that's one of the best things you can do is say, okay, Kelly said, I'm the director of my dream and the dream isn't over until I'm empowered. So this dream, it was just like watching a scary movie and you ended it 5 minutes before the ending where the hero is triumphant. So you've got to put the ending on your own movie. So journal what that would be like and use your imagination. Don't be super concrete about it. Be creative with it. And then get tired doing something else. Sometimes I'll read a book after I've journaled. I'll do something until I genuinely get sleepy again, and then I'll come back to bed. It's important to do that because some people that struggle with getting a good night's sleep, they begin to associate their bed with restlessness. And it's like, it's this war zone. And you want your bed to be this pristine place that you associate with sweetness, with getting a good night's sleep. So whenever, if you're fighting with getting a sleep, then just get up so that when you're ready to go. I mean, I did this just last night. When I had that dream, that kind of empathy dream about this abusive father, it woke me up and I got up, I journaled, I did a little bit of work, I read, and I came back to sleep exhausted and I slept really well for the remaining few hours that I had. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah. So to end it with like dream journaling, you give kind of, you say to write within the first 3 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes, right when you wake up. It's important in the morning to journal, and then you'll start to see it'll become easier to remember your dreams.
Yes, exactly. It's just like that if you take one step toward your dreams, they'll take 20 steps toward you. So at the very least, we have to record our dreams. Many people say, oh, I don't dream. And it's like, no, you just don't remember because you didn't take a few minutes to write them down. Typically in the morning, we wake up and there is a dream that is alive with us. But the reason why we don't remember it typically is because we then start thinking about what we have to do in the day. We start projecting ourselves forward, or we pick up our phone and we're on social media or we're in the news, and that immediately disconnects that, almost like a very wispy spider web thread that is easily disconnected if we don't seek to weave it. So if we were wise in those first few morning minutes, you'd be like, there's a thread that connects me from this world to the other world. Let me follow it back and see what that was, even whatever little wisps of memories, and write it down in an actual paper journal. Or I use an app these days called Dream Journal Ultimate. It's a free app that makes it really easy. I record with my voice so I can get a lot out pretty quickly, and it transcribes it. Or some people like to draw pictures, but immediately, if you don't write it down first thing, more often than not, the dream will disappear and you'll be missing out.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Is there anything that you want to share that we haven't covered?
Oh my God. I could
talk to you forever.
I know. You are amazing. You're rocking my soul. You're like wonderful. I feel so blessed to have been connected with you. And I just hope that people get inspired to pay attention to their dreams. I hope that they, like I say, don't take their dreams lying down. So, even if you remember it, often they're crazy. We'll say what I titled my first book, I had the strangest dream, because that's mostly what people say. they put it in the strange dream, and then they discount it because it's strange, but the stranger, the better. So pay attention to them, and they can literally change the course of your whole life. They can be that really subtle yet profound way that we end up in that spot we were talking about earlier, like that sweet spot of like, wow, what's the best use of me? What's my contribution to life? Universe, use me, work with me. How can I make the most of this little teeny parenthesis of time that I have? How can I make this magical and also inspire others along the way? So our dreams can help us to just expedite getting there. So we're not wasting our time. We're using our energy efficiently and effectively and making the best difference we can. Our dreams are helping us to expedite that. So I hope people are inspired.
Thank you so much for sharing everything you did. The one thing that I really learned today too is like, it's so nice to work it out in your dreams instead of life having to bring you that like feather brick or truck. It's like, how about we give me the message in my dream instead of making it dramatic in my life? So I'm going to ask you.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, let's have our lives be more magical. And in some way, it's like we can do both. We can work our stuff out in our life so our dreams can be more magical. And, or we work it out in our dreams. Either way, let's work our stuff out. Let's actively participate in it so that our dreams can also be like a magic carpet that can take us to places that are beyond problem solving. Wouldn't that be amazing if our dreams were freed up to take us to other realms of consciousness and like raise the roof of human 2.0, 3.0, 5.0.
Right. You get that way in meditation sometimes too, or people who really practice meditation, you can get to that point. I think just overall, whatever people listen to, just have a practice of something and have tools that you constantly work on getting to have that self-empowerment within yourself.
Completely. Oh my God.
Thank you, Kelly. I could talk to you forever. So thank you so much for being here today.
Jackie, you're amazing. I so have loved every moment of this. I feel like we've known each other forever. So I think we're just getting warmed up. I'm glad we're reconnected in this lifetime.
Yes, me too.
Thanks for listening to the Extraordinary Living Podcast. For show notes for this episode and all past episodes, head over to JackieSenatori.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Until then, take care and be well.